Welcome to Work from the Inside Out, a podcast that highlights real-life stories, practical strategies, and best practices for transitioning your career from unhappiness and dissatisfaction to fulfillment, meaning, and joy. Now here is your host, career and executive coach, Tammy Guler-Loeb.
Hey everybody, I am so delighted to introduce you to my guest today, Shane Feldman. Shane is the founder and CEO of Count Me In. He is the visionary behind the world's largest millennial-led movement. Over the past decade, Count Me In has initiated tens of thousands of projects worldwide, contributing a value of over $2.6 billion to the global economy through service. Shane has been featured by Larry King, Dr. Oz, Forbes, People magazine, and his documentary TV series from A&E follows his community building work. Shane has spoken to audiences around the world, and he has been recognized by the White House and the United Nations for his achievements in community leadership. Please join me in welcoming Shane Feldman. Hey, Shane.
Such a pleasure to be with you, Tammy. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's delightful to have you, Shane. So Shane, take us back to when Count Me In started, or maybe even earlier. Tell us about your earlier days and how things started for you and where things are today.
Well, Count Me In really started as a small project back in high school. That was the humble beginnings. The company was born out of my locker in high school. And it was just this idea of connecting with other students and helping other students connect with one another and community in a time where smartphones were just being invented and starting to become popular, and more people are spending more and more time on their own. And I was one of those people. And I had started high school in this big new community where I didn't know anyone. I had just moved there with my mom and two sisters. And so here I am starting at a school, and already I feel this disconnect, and that's just amplified by smartphones, technology, all these wonderful innovations that were making me feel lonelier than ever. So Count Me In started as this project to help other people connect the way that I seem to be connecting, which was through service and volunteering and entrepreneurship events and conferences and clubs. And I just really wanted to help other people find these sorts of avenues the way that I was. So the first event that we were planning, the goal was for 50 students to attend this event. Me and a few friends were planning it. And the day came around and 386 students from 7 schools showed up.
Wow.
Yeah, well, so that was when we realized we were tapping into something, right?
Well, okay, so I'm now okay. So now wait, it was born out of your locker. So I'm gonna ask you to back up just a little bit, because when people hear this, they're gonna say, whoa, wait a minute. You were the new kid at school. You said to yourself, I'm feeling kind of alone here. I'm going to get something started, because you wanted to get to know a few other people. And had you, wherever you were before, had you already done some volunteer work or service projects? Was that something that you were already oriented towards doing? Or
not at all. The truth is that I was just I was trying to get a transfer. So this wasn't, me being the savior of the student body. I went to my school counselor to try and transfer to another school because I hated it so much. I figured I had landed in the worst school in the world. And before he would talk about a transfer, he basically forced me to sign up for a bunch of clubs and councils and local projects that he felt matched my interests. So he was the catalyst. Mr. Conte was the catalyst to get me involved. And then once I started getting involved, of course, I started hating school just a little less because I was actually connecting with people in a meaningful way.
I see. Mm-hmm. So your school counselor really sort of lit the fire.
Oh, yeah.
And then you sort of stepped into a bit of a leadership role, let's say?
I did, but the vision was quite small. It was very modest at the time. You call it a leadership role, but we're talking about 50 kids. It's like we're going to have a pizza lunch, maybe a couple speakers, help you, find different things that are the right fit for you. But that was the big vision, the big goal, and it was me and a few friends helping me out. But when 386 students showed up,
From
that
other
it was a
schools too.
moment from 7 schools. It was a real moment for me in stopping and realizing not only are we on to something, but this feels really good. It feels like I'm contributing in a way that matters. It feels like I'm giving back to people who need it and deserve it. And the more that I thought about it, the more I realized that no one else was offering anything comparable. There was no other event or organization or company that was offering this kind of this level of leadership training and community building the way that we were framing it. So when that realization happened, then there was this moment of, okay, can we do it even bigger next year? And I feel like I've been chasing it down a hill ever since, because here we are going into year 11,
Yeah.
and we now have millions around the world,
Right.
30,000 projects. It's
Right.
just insane.
Yeah. And yet, as a kid, let's be clear here. As a kid, you even had, as a realization as a kid, said to yourself, nobody else is doing this.
Well, sure. I mean, it wasn't like this didn't take any crazy metrics or surveying to figure out, because I was the population we were serving,
Yeah.
right? So I knew what this population felt like. I knew what was missing. I knew what we were offering. And everything that we were building was so grassroots that
Mm.
we really were, I mean, we were setting ourselves up for such success, because
Mhm.
we knew that what we were building and providing was exactly what our members, what our audience wanted.
Yeah.
Right? It's amazing what happens when you listen. And to this day, I mean, it's certainly scaled quite a bit, and it is definitely more challenging to survey and monitor 10 million people versus 386.
Yeah.
But we have built the systems and processes to do it, because that is the secret to any success, in my
Mhm.
opinion. It's listening, deep listening,
Yeah.
truly listening, because that is what will allow you to deliver what people are actually looking for, instead of creating something and trying to market it or sell it, without people actually desiring it in the first place.
Mhm. So in those early days, I'm still sticking on the early days for a few more minutes here, Shane. Um, in those early days, what kinds of things were people looking for, asking for, or hungry for? What kinds of things did you want to be doing as a young person yourself? And what brought these several schools all together?
Well, what brought them together was what they thought they were searching for. What they thought they were searching for was a resume builder, an opportunity to be entrepreneurial, a way to learn new things, to build their college applications.
Oh,
What they
so
were actually searching
okay.
for, and the reason that they stuck around,
Yeah.
was the sense of community, the sense of
Ah.
true connection that they were missing. So
Mhm.
what kind of draw them and brought them in the door, what would have, kept them there that first day or that first event, was checking off all those boxes,
Mm.
doing better
Mhm.
academically inside of school, outside of school, preparing them for
Mhm.
life outside of school. But the reason that they stayed, the reason that people continue to stay, and why we continue to grow instead of just having 300 people brand new every single year, the reason that
Right.
we're able to retain is because of this sense of true connection, true community that people are feeling, that is rare to feel these days.
Yeah, no, it's definitely rare to feel these days.
And we're more connected than ever, but that is disconnecting us than ever before.
Right, right. So this was in high school where it started, and you were what, in your junior year at that time, or
The idea started as a freshman, and then
I was a freshman?
the
Okay.
first event actually took shape when I was in my junior year.
Okay. Okay. And it wasn't called Count Me In at that time, was it?
We didn't even really have a name for it.
No, it was just this thing
This
that
project that we were
yeah.
starting. After the
So
first event, we sat down and had a whole kind of brainstorming session. There were about 10 of us in this boardroom
yeah.
talking it out. And it was actually Mr. Conte who came up with the idea for the name Count Me In, because this
Ah.
whole concept, as we were reflecting on that first very successful event, we kept coming back to that this was much bigger than any one organization or any one company. It was about an action, a verb. It was really about counting yourself into community, into, really taking action. So it really resonated with the team at the time,
Yeah.
with the members we had in that room, and we've been soaring on that name ever since.
Yeah. So what started off with as a resume builder or a way for a group of kids to make their college applications look better, a little self-serving that turned into probably something that ended up looking more selfless. How did it evolve from there?
Well, interestingly or ironically, it was just as self-serving for me at the beginning, right? Because
Sure. Well, you were
even though
one
I
of
had
them, right?
started, I was one of them, and I was trying to get that transfer, and so I stumbled into this. And I wanted to connect with more people, so hey, why don't I build this event? And so that's really the mindset that I had.
Right.
Not so altruistic at the beginning.
No. Well, look, you were a teenager, right?
And yes, exactly. And so the second year we had 1,000 people show up at this event from 30 schools, and so now we're starting to get the indication of, okay, this thing is really resonating. It's really taking off. And what's important to note is that we have these 1,000 people, but we haven't lost those first 386. Right.
Mm.
So if we keep going at this track, we're going to keep doubling and tripling and quadrupling in size year after year. And sure enough, the following year we grew to nearly 2,000 and nearly double the amount of schools taking part. And then we outgrew the venues that we were holding these events in. And then a brilliant intern on our team named Arjun suggested that we take this annual event and move it into one large venue and stream it live instead of touring it. That way, anyone from anywhere could tune in. And it was a brilliant idea, something I'd never thought of. And I'm grateful that as a CEO, I consider myself a leading learner in the organization, because if Arjun didn't feel empowered to speak up, if he didn't feel like the CEO
Yeah.
would listen to him at the time, he probably would have never shared. And that intern's idea led to the largest expansion that Count Me In has ever seen.
Mm.
That first broadcast was massive. It was by far the largest event that we had ever produced. We had a live audience in person of 3,000 in one of the largest theaters in North America, the Sony Center. We had the same director who had just directed the opening ceremonies of the Olympics directing this show. It was nuts. We had a team of 139 people. I'm 19 years old at the time, and I'm the guy in charge.
Oh my goodness.
And
Now, what was the event? What was the substance of the event? Because it sounds like
it was a variety show
okay.
inspiring social entrepreneurship.
Okay.
So we had speakers and performers and all different sorts of people, 4 hours of stage time. So it was like a massive conference, really inspiring this audience to get involved, to do something meaningful in their community, and then giving them tools and resources to actually go out and do those things.
Oh, okay. And was that the same thing
yeah.
the year prior? The 2,000 people, the 1,000?
Yep. It was the same vision, the same ideas. Obviously, the content has morphed and shaped over the years. Today, we do much more in the realm of curriculum resources. Our curriculum is being used in schools across a few countries. And we have mentorship programs and coaching for students, life coaching for students. We host the Global Student Leadership Summit that students actually fly into, high school and college students every spring. So all different sorts of events. But at the time, it was just this one conference and then this one broadcast that was kind of our main pinnacle each year.
So how many people do you have in your organization today, 11 years later?
47.
Wow. So I want to, if you don't mind, Shane, I want to talk about you for a minute. Just you. Can we talk about you?
We can.
So we've got at least a snapshot, right, of how this started. Your guidance counselor was trying to engage you and get you to stop hating your high school. And clearly planted a seed that took very strong root, right? And turn you into a founder and CEO of this amazing organization. When did you realize that this was turning into what sounds like is your life's work, rather than just some project you're doing for a few years? When did you know that this had much deeper meaning for you?
So this isn't going to be a very conventional answer, but I suppose it's not exactly a conventional question. So I think you're gonna let's just go with it. It
Sure.
was it was in 2015. So
Okay.
it was just after our first big broadcast, which was nuts. Suddenly we've been propelled onto the global stage. We have millions of people following us. It's just astronomical in scale and size. But I'm still 19. I'm still a teenager at the time,
Yeah.
and my life on a professional on a professional note is phenomenal. I couldn't be more grateful. I'm learning so much every single day, and on the outside everything looks fantastic. On the inside I feel isolated, I feel more alone than ever, and I feel very disconnected from this incredible organization that I'm building.
Mhm.
So I had this kind of wake up call moment in the immediate aftermath of this big broadcast, where in the span of what felt like days but was just a few weeks, I had finished this broadcast, finished producing it, the pinnacle of my young career, and then I am betrayed by my best friend at the time, who's also working for me, and ending a toxic relationship with my partner at the time. And in a matter of a moment, I suddenly feel more alone than ever. I feel abandoned by the people I thought had my back, betrayed by those that I trusted the most.
Mm.
And I just needed a break. I had
Mhm.
never taken a real break before, which sounds ridiculous as a 19-year-old, and I understand it. But given the work that I was doing, it was strange that I'm a full time student, I'm a full time CEO, and I'm spending exactly 0% of my time on self care or really on my personal social life. So no wonder it's crumbling around me. So I left. I literally ran away. I got a plane ticket to the other side of the world, just trying to take a few weeks to reset and find myself and
Mhm.
maybe find what I was missing, because all I knew was my life felt broken and I didn't know how to fix it.
Mm.
And that plane ticket is the answer to your question. That plane ticket opened my eyes to what I was really missing,
Mm.
which ironically was a sense of community. Here I am, building a sense of community for others, seen
Right.
as a community builder, but I have no sense of community myself.
Right.
And so that first plane ticket landed me in Southeast Asia, and it was in Vietnam that I I found what I was really looking for. I found the solution. The remedy was community. Interestingly, there was uh, nothing at the time that uh, drew me to Vietnam, other than it just being a place that I knew nothing about, a culture that I had never experienced before, a language I did not know. But afterwards, I realized in my research that Vietnam actually celebrates community as a culture, which is
Mm.
fascinating. They value collectivism as a country, and so
Mm.
they actually see individuals as secondary to groups. So what does
Mm.
that mean? That means that in any situation where I was walking around in this country, so I was in Ho Chi Minh City, every time I was in a main square, there was always someone reaching out, asking me if I was alone, asking me if I wanted to join them and their friends.
Hmm.
And it was transformative, because when do we experience that in North America? We
Mm.
don't. We have a
No.
very individualized culture. Even if you don't work in a cubicle environment, we have a very cubicalized system, right? And the
Yeah.
way that we work, operate, the way our offices look and feel, the way our schools look and feel. So here
Yeah.
I am finding the sense of community and realizing this is what I need to take back home, not only to apply to my personal life, but also to my company, to allow it to scale and be more sustainable, so we can reduce our turnover, so we can empower our team more. We need to offer this sense of true community. And
Mhm.
so I became quickly obsessed with this notion of community building, community leadership, human behavior, and realized I had a whole lot to learn. Um,
Mm.
and I had to learn these things outside of a classroom environment, outside of an office environment. So that first plane ticket turned into a research journey through
Mm.
20 countries. And it was
Oh.
like this accidental discovery of so many of these truths about community, how they start, how people engage, how we can empower them, and just the the general notion of human engagement and human behavior. And it was phenomenal. Every country I visited gave me new strategies to apply to my own life and to my company. And from the time I returned a few years ago, me and my organization has not been the same.
Really? So out of a I don't want to say it wasn't a moment, it was a period of time where you were in a state of some despair, it sounds like.
Sure.
You you took off and landed in a place where you really had no idea what you were going to find, and it sparked something in you that led to a period, it sounds like a period of a couple of years where you started to do some research, is that right?
Yep, it was about. I mean, it's ongoing. The original chapter was about a year, but
Okay.
I caught this kind of research bug. So I every year now I spend about a couple months overseas, usually most of the time researching in new countries. And
Mhm.
every time I travel, I literally have new tangible takeaways
Mhm.
that I can not only apply to my life and my team, but I now spend about 80% of my year on tour speaking and consulting
Right.
for companies. And so
Yeah.
I'm able to give them these kinds of strategies as well. Here's what you're missing. Here's what they're doing in South Africa. And here's how you can
Right.
apply to your company to better empower and retain your employees. That's exactly right. I'm able to
And
take all these proofs of concept, these strategies in other cultures, apply it to Count Me and apply it to my own company
right.
as kind of like a case study. And then when I go to my personal clients, I'm able to say, hey, here's what I learned. Here's what we did with that. And here's how you can do it today.
Right. And so during that, at least that initial plane ticket to Vietnam and that year of research, when you were, it sounds like you also took some time to heal and to kind of recover from
Hmm.
some pain that you were in. And I appreciate your willingness to share that. Um, was Count Me In doing some other things at that time? Or, I mean, because it sounds like you just sort of bought a plane ticket and took off. Like, what happened to your company at that time?
Sure. Yeah, I definitely was taking some time for myself. I had a team at the time that was keeping the ship afloat.
I
Uh,
see.
but
Okay.
there was no real development at the time, though.
Okay.
Things weren't nearly as sustainable or successful as they are today.
I see.
There were definitely issues at the company, but it was floating. There was no
Yeah.
real development, no big programs happening while I was unplugged.
Got
But
it.
but we didn't go bankrupt.
So from 2015 onward to today, it really, it sounds like it looks like a very different company in some respects, although it sounds like the heart and soul has evolved. There's still kind of that foundation that you've carried with you from your school locker all the way to today.
There's definitely some foundation, but almost everything else has changed and evolved, not
Yeah.
only with the times to stay relevant and current,
Mhm.
but also just because we have a much better idea today of who we are. So
Mm.
even if that foundation is the same, it wasn't something we spoke about. It wasn't something that resonated across the board. I mean, 5 years ago, if you asked someone on my team what they did, they might respond, I'm a secretary. They might respond, am a marketing intern. Today,
Mm.
if you ask any one of those 47 people on our
Yeah.
team what they do, the first thing they're going to tell you in their own words is that
Yeah.
I empower people to be social entrepreneurs of this organization.
Mhm.
And it started with that shift coming back from that research trip, but then it was about really figuring out who we are and how we can articulate it. So, for example, we have 8 core values
Mhm.
as an organization. Most companies or organizations out there have values of some kind. Usually they're hidden on the website, or maybe they're on a poster on the wall.
Yeah.
Maybe some employees know a few of the values. For us, as part of our onboarding, it is the most important element of the organization. Without our values, we have nothing. And they're more than just words. We have activation statements with each value and
Mhm.
reflective questions. These are things that are really embodied in every member of our team.
Mm.
Uh, and they were also developed by our team. This wasn't a boardroom conversation
Right.
where we decided our 8 core values. We had a really intense, both formal and informal surveying process to really democratize our value selection process. So our 8 core values were decided upon by our team at that time,
Right.
for our team, right? And
Right.
they will take us far into the future.
So yeah, in order for it to spread the good work outward, it has to live by those principles itself, right? And is your team spread out all over the place, or are they based? I know your base is Toronto at this point. Um, is your team all over the place, or are they based in one place? Or
Yeah, I'm barely based in Toronto these days.
well, I know that, but I know at least you call Toronto home.
I do. I will always call Toronto home. Proud to be Canadian, but our team is spread all over
Yeah,
U.S., Canada, U.K. We are an entirely remote team. We do get together. Our All of our head staff get together twice a year. The rest of our team gets together once a year. So we do definitely have those in-person masterminds and collaborative days. Otherwise, it's about how we can best optimize Zoom and Slack and all kinds of other creative tools to make sure we can
right,
collaborate across all kinds of geographic barriers.
right. Wow. So yeah, I mean, what you're sharing here, Shane, is the epitome of work from the inside out, no doubt about it. Thinking about the kind of advice you might give other people who are thinking about forming their careers or their next steps, especially, you know, you yourself being a millennial. Um, Not everybody's going to be a CEO in their 20s. What advice would you give someone else who's thinking about or wanting to develop their career, their life's work from the inside out?
Yeah, I don't think that everyone needs to be a CEO. Barely any of my work is really linked to entrepreneurship. I might be an entrepreneur myself, but I think there's something to be said for being an entrepreneur in any environment, whether it's at home, in a larger company, doesn't really matter. But there are certain things that you can do to really lead from the inside out and find that sense of purpose, regardless of the physical function of our job, right?
Yeah.
Or even the physical function of a company.
Yeah.
So I think that starts with connecting with other people and with really finding that sense of community and building that sense of community because it's something you can create. It's interesting. Like I travel the world to try and find the sense of community. And what I ended up figuring out is that community isn't found, community is created. And we all have the
Right.
opportunity to do that, right? It
Yeah.
starts with perhaps keeping your phone in your pocket as you walk down the hallway so you can make eye contact with people, say hello, adding that one personal line to the beginning of an email, saying someone's name in the email. Something, typically we just jump straight to what we need, right? When you start with like, "Hey Tammy, hope you had a wonderful weekend. How was your kid's first day of school? When you have a sec, if you could please send me that report, I'd really, really appreciate it. Need it by 3
Mhm.
p.m. today."
Yeah.
Entirely different than please send me that report by 3 p.m.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It changes. It's the extra 10 seconds, but it changes everything. So when we start to incorporate these into our daily lives, it shifts our perspective. It shifts our workflow, and really it changes our life. And that to me is changing our life from the inside out because
Yeah.
it's without one another we have
Yeah.
nothing.
True. And in terms of working with a remote team as you do, and so many people are these days, how what kinds of advice do you give people around staying connected or staying in tune with others when you work remotely? What do you think are some of the keys to making that work well? Because I have a lot of clients who really do struggle with that. And maybe it's, you know, I think I'm at the very, very end of the baby boomer generation. So this is not as typical in my generation, although we're all getting used to it. But I do think it's something that some people do struggle with more. What are your thoughts on that?
It's something you have to be really intentional about. So we are living in a world where remote teams are becoming more and more popular, more and more something that we need to deal with as a society. And for us, we do things like incorporate photos into Slack. So the platform we use to communicate is Slack. We make sure that everyone has a photo, everyone has their first name, so we can actually see one another when we chat. Our Zoom meetings, we can actually all see one another. It's not like one-to-one Skype calls. So we really try and celebrate that face-to-face communication, even over technology.
Mm.
And we also don't try and limit ourselves to what preconceived remote teams might be limited by. So, for example, you hear of a walking meeting. Many people go on walking meetings. It's becoming popular in brick and mortar offices, but that's something that we do on our team, even though we're remote. The only difference is I might be walking, to a building in New York City, and I'm talking to my COO who lives in Sacramento. Right? We're each walking in different neighborhoods, different sides of the country, but we're both walking. So we are both feeling the benefits of that walking meeting. Our creativity's up, our innovation, our problem solving is higher, right? Because we are still walking instead of sitting stationary, at a home desk
Mm.
at
I
opposite sides
love
of the
that
country.
idea. Have a walking meeting remotely.
They're great. Highly recommend it. It's great. It's great. And it has proven benefits, right? Your problem solving's up, your
Yeah.
creativity, and it really lowers so many barriers to connection, right? It
Yeah.
just helps us flow better in
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. I think you're onto something here, Shane. You've been in this 11 years now. And as you pointed out, um, 2015 was kind of a pivotal year for you. You're continuing to do some research. You're doing a tremendous amount of speaking, and it sounds like also some consulting. Are you still also doing some of those large events as well?
Not so much anymore.
Okay.
We have focused much more these days on scaling our programs through technology, through digital. We know that there are so many opportunities with live events, but we like to keep them more intimate. We find that we can scale the impact much better that way.
And so how can people get involved with Count Me In?
It depends on your age bracket and
Okay.
what you're interested in doing. So if you are a young person or have a young person in your life, we have our Global Student Leadership Summit. That's for students in middle school, high school, or college. That goes
Great.
up to age 23. If you're a teacher or work in the educational community, we have all kinds of curriculum resources about entrepreneurship, social entrepreneurship, and service that you can use in the classroom. And if you work with a company or organization, you're welcome to support. Count me in if you have a young person in your life. Otherwise, I'd love to bring these messages into your company or
Mhm.
your world. I think that
Right.
is going to be what's the most useful, right? It's like let's
Mhm.
inject a just an ounce of what Count Me In is doing into your culture and your organization. It's amazing how I've seen it applied to just about every industry, from tech and digital to CPA conventions. It's amazing. These themes are so universal. We all want to better attract, empower, and retain a high performing team and the most loyal customers. And the umbrella across all of that is community building.
Right.
Gets me excited. We need to bring the humanity back into work, back into our businesses.
So if people want to follow what you're doing or where you are, what's going on, what is the best way for them to find you, Shane?
ShaneFeldman.com is where I live online. So you can find all my social channels from that site as well.
Okay.
So ShaneFeldman.com, you can connect directly to me. I try and Instagram quite a bit. That's one of
Okay.
my core kind of daily social media tools, just to share where
Okay,
I'm
good.
at, which client I'm with. But all of them, Twitter and LinkedIn, wherever you spend your time, you can find me.
All right. And I know you also speak a lot at conferences and things like that. So if people have a chance to want to hear you speak, or I'm sure you're on YouTube as well, if they want to get a more of a taste of some of the things that you presented, they can.
Absolutely, yeah. YouTube.
Yeah.
There's videos on my website. Lots of video out there. We live in a very video heavy world, and I know that you can find content if you're looking for it.
Well, Shane, thank you so much for spending this time with us today. Really appreciate your generosity in sharing your story and all that you're doing with Count Me In. I want to thank you and your team for all that you're bringing to the world. It's really important work. Thanks so much.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Tammy.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Shane Feldman. It was so interesting to speak with him and learn about his professional path to where he is today. What is your key takeaway from our conversation? Is there something you'll put into action this week that you'll benefit from for years to come? Share what resonated with you in the show notes at workfromtheinsideout.com. Look for episode 050. That's also where you'll find all the links and resources from today's podcast. If you enjoyed this episode with Shane, please share it with your friends and colleagues, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next week's show. Remember, subscribing is always free. Are you enjoying the podcast? I'd love to read your review on Apple Podcasts. It's easy to find my page at tammygoulerloeb.com/Apple. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, it's never too late or too impossible to increase your sense of fulfillment and satisfaction in your work and other meaningful activities. Let me know how it's going for you. And who knows, maybe you'll be my next interview on this podcast. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Work from the Inside Out podcast. For more information, you can find us at www.workfromtheinsideout.com.